Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely Stream Deck. For more information about the Stream Deck, the link is in the description below.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mr. Murray Walker, aka Evil Dragon, back again in the commentary box. And no, I'm not, well, I am the Discount Murray. No, I am the real Murray, we'll say that much today, because we're at Spa and it's gonna rain. Joining me today is Mrs. Martin Brundle. Say hello to Jess.
Thank you very much, Mr. Murray Walker, Mr. Evil Dragon. Hello, everybody. We are at the second 90-minute endurance race of the season. Well, we had an 80-minute endurance race last week, but that didn't count because that had qualifying and stuff. But this is the second one where there's been no qualifying, 10-minute practice, reverse grid. It's going to make things life interesting. It's 12 hours of Spa. Well, it's not really 12 hours of Spa. It's replicating 12 hours of Spa in time progression in the game. And there's going to be some threat of rain somewhere. But not at the start of the race this time, because Austria had it at the start of the race, but it's not going to happen at the start of the race this time. It's going to happen early on, but not quite early on. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. I can't wait.
Indeed. Well, we will talk about the drivers in the whole lap in a minute, but don't forget we've got a beautiful 7.04 kilometre circuit ahead of us. Actually, you know what, Jess? I think we should get a hot lap on.
Yeah, we may as well get it done nice and early, and Ethan's done the last few ones, and I thought that we should have one from Mr. Jazzman, who is currently fighting with Tinnis for the championship lead. So here it is from Jazzman.
Hey everybody, Jazzman here, taking you on board around the lap of Spa, heading on to the main straight, just changing up the gears, and over here you want to just spot your braking point into corner one. It's that little grey patch, little grey area now. Brake, head into first gear. Just rather just keep a good apex and really just try to focus on a good exit, as anything gained gives you more top end speed at the end of this straight. Heading down into your Eau Rouge, you just want to kind of keep a nice steady line and hook up the apex nicely, and then straighten out your car to obviously minimize scrub speed. Now the rest is you just minimize your steering and wait for the next corner. And yes, but you want to spot your braking point. The best place to brake is just before the curbs. Over here you can see I just braked a bit too late, struggled to get the car in. Second gear corner for me in this car, and then up to third. Tiny lift just to get the nose in for the next right-hander. Focus here, just brake second gear now, and there's really two or three lines you want to take. I prefer the more tighter line, just really just get a better exit and more consistent. Next corner, third gear. You want to avoid those little bollards on the side, as they can give you quite a bit of damage. Heading into the next section is a fourth gear corner. You just want to hook up the apex quite nicely and just run out nicely. You don't want to abuse the track limits there too much, as it's very strict. Into the next corner, you want to brake just before these curbs, down into third, and this helps me, gets the nose in and maintains a higher speed than second. Keep it in third for the next bit. And just put your braking point again just before the curb, down into second gear. I prefer it as it just gets the nose in. You're going to have to take that in third. Now again up to gears, fourth, fifth, and I keep it in fifth on the straight, just so I don't lose any speed. Changing up in sixth as you take this next corner. So you just want to minimize your steering, don't want to scrub off any speed, and over here you just want to really hook up the apex nicely and let the car run out of wide. The next corner, probably the most tricky corner on the track for me personally, to spot your braking point in these. And you can see over here I just overshot it, and this next corner is the first gear as well. And that's been a lap of Spa. This has been Jazzman, and I'll see you guys on the track.
So thank you to Mr. Jazzman for providing a hot lap around this beautiful circuit. It's starting off quite sunny and then it's going to get really rainy later on. So it should be interesting now. So we may as well go through, we usually go through the championship in championship order, but since it's going to be reverse grid tonight, we will go in reverse championship order. So Zout 101 is in 14th place. He's only scored 46 points this season. His best result was in fact in around the first races in Zolder with 46 points. So he'll be starting on pole position for tonight's race. 13th place is Overtaker. He got his one and only win in the USA with 78 points. He'll be starting in second. Slicker is in 12th. He'll be starting in third on the grid tonight, and he's got 91 points. Fourth place tonight on the grid is Essa. He's 11th in the standings. He's got 92 points. Fifth place tonight will be Davies Out. He's on 100 points and he's 10th in the standings. 9th in the standings is Brent. He'll be starting 6th with 118 points. 7th place on the grid tonight, Every Person. He's got 128 points. He's in 8th place. 7th place is Chicano with 135 points. 6th place is Darren Sinclair with 136 points. 5th place is Vetro with 161 points. And then we got Ethan in 4th with 192 points. Big Kid Daddy, 201 points in 3rd. And then we got a really close battle, like we said, between Jazzman and Tinnis. Jazzman in 2nd, Tinnis in 3rd. Only a 4-point difference. Jazzman starting 2nd to last, with Tinnis starting at the back of the grid. So that is your grid order. We'll probably go through it whilst we're on the grid pretty soon as well, as they just finished practice, which is good timing, and we're about to start some great racing around here. Austria's pretty good. I hope Belgium is good as well, Evil.
It very much was good indeed. I'm back just on cue, by the way, because the session just ended, which is always good to see. So we have 38 laps of Spa. Race is going to take around about 90 minutes. Now, a Formula 1 race around here is 44 laps. We're doing 38, so you can tell how quickly GT3 cars actually are, where the race distance is nearly the same length as an F1 race and about the same time as an F1 race, which just tells you a lot about these types of cars, Jess. They're not slow, but they're very much quite quick, aren't they?
Yep, they are, and I do love the sound around here, to be honest, and it makes it a lot easier to handle the famous El Rouge and Radion corner. It's a track which is loved by drivers and spectators alike. First opened in 1922, the track was first opened with motorcyclists, and 2 years later came the first running of the famous 24 Hours of Spa, which is still run today, and we've got the 6 Hours of Spa as well, which WEC run as well. And then 1950, I believe, was the first F1 race, and there was more things that happened as well throughout this time period. And Spa Future was in doubt in around the 2005 period, but people saved their futures, and Spa is still in love today by pretty much mostly all the motor series that you find in motorsport. I can't think of a motor series that does not race here, apart from obviously IndyCar. I can't imagine IndyCar racing here, can you?
Well, no, MotoGP I don't think race here either, of course. They haven't raced, well, they can't race here due to the elevation changes. So, let's see, now Spa itself, original circuit was over 14 kilometres long. That original circuit lasted all the way up till 1976 for its original race length. Of course, the likes of the old Sports Car Championship used to race around here. Now, after that, they closed the circuit all the way up until 1984. That's when it reopened, same year as the Nürburgring, ironically, as well. And in 1985, F1 returned back there, but we don't want to talk about F1, we want to talk about GT cars. Well, these types of cars, they were always quite prominent around here, of course. The 12 Hours of Spa, the 24 Hours of Spa, always an ominous sight. Now, back in the olden days, this circuit in a GT car would have been absolutely terrifying, because remember, they're going a lot slower, but they've got a lot less downforce, a lot more slippery. And especially in the time period, yes, back in the 70s, in the 60s as well, if you made a mistake around here, it's a long walk back, or you're in a bathtub in a tree. And as Jackie Stewart once said, if it's an off around here, it's a big off, because, well, we know Jackie Stewart wrapped himself around a tree and survived, which was fortunate for him.
Exactly, and imagine how they're going to be doing in the rain, in the dark, because it's starting at 4 p.m. Belgian time in game, and then it's going to get darker as it rains, and then it's going to have a bit of sunlight towards the end and starts to brighten up a little bit and be a bit dry as well. So different conditions for these drivers to manage, but I'm sure these guys will cope with it. They've coped with a bit of rain before, so 5 red lights are going on. 3, 4, 5. And we're going to wait 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as a few people move out of the way. So our pole sitter Zout can make his way to the front of the grid. And we got Davies out in that Bentley who's keen to get going.
Yeah, everyone keen to go on this rain now. Remember, rain expected within the first 6, 7 laps of this race. Now, remember as well, it's just 37 race laps by technicality, counting we've got one formation lap. So this formation lap was going to be taking about three and a bit minutes. So it's going to rain very early on in this race. I predict maybe even before we get to lap 5 or 6. The temperature, it's quite high around here. It's about 41 degrees, I think. We recorded it earlier on whilst I was practicing. Now, that temperature will drop all the way down to about 29, 28 degrees by the time the first 10 laps are done. That's how quickly the track temperature is going to drop. Expect a few drivers to spring some surprises. We expect soft tyres for the first stage of this race. Now, of course, it will rain earlier on, and the question is just, around a circuit like this, 7 kilometres, it will rain, and the drivers are going to print this perfect, because if they do it 1 lap too late, a circuit like this, you think, okay, I'll do 1 more lap, it's still dry. That 1 lap, it could be completely wet by the time you get it to the end of it, and that's going to cost you a lot of time. So they've all got to get this absolutely perfect. Otherwise, there is going to be massive repercussions for their races.
It's like that in any racing game you play around Spa or any other track, to be honest. If you time the wet tyres wrong, then it can really hinder you, to be honest. And sometimes you get an inkling as some parts of the car are disabled, like the DRS, but unfortunately you don't get that here. So you're going to really trust your gut instinct here. And we're just going to watch the set times as well. If you see someone going faster and pulling away and you're struggling, then that really means you made the wrong decision. And I wonder how the guys up behind are going to struggle or even cope with the dirty air around them when it gets to wet conditions. So they've got to go as far up the grid as they possibly can. Tinnis has done well, making his way up from last to first at one point. Will he be able to do it again this week? He's the championship leader. Don't forget as well, Zout has started on pole many times for these reverse grid races. Hasn't gone quite to plan. Maybe tonight could be the night where he does well and scores some decent points for the Mercedes team. It's been a while since the Mercedes has started on pole around Spa. And don't forget, the last time we've been here, season 14, and it was the championship finale.
Yeah, guys were in by Bractor, I think, back then. It was a long, long time ago. That was about a year ago, I think, if I remember correctly. Now, also good to remember, the last 3 times we've came to Spa here on Project Cars Noir in the top tier categories, there has been an incident on the first lap every single time. So there is 100% chance so far in the last 4 seasons of an incident or some contact in the opening stages of this race. So expect to see some drama, especially around a circuit like this. Reverse championship order as well. So fireworks could always fly up. We've got 2x2x2x2. Zat 101, Overtaker on the outside. Overtaker with a good chance of winning potentially yet again today. He's got a car underneath him that's quick. He's a quick driver. Remember, he won here. Well, he won the 3rd race of the season down in the beautiful Circuit of the Americas down there at Kota. Got a good chance of winning it yet again today. Remember, he's got to make sure no mistakes. That 101 in that Mercedes could be a sitting target, though we know it's a quick car in a straight line. Watch out for slicker. But the more questionable thing is going to be watching out for the likes of Vector, Rotary, Biggie Daddy, Jazzman and Tinnis. Well, let's get ready to go then, because it's going to be 5 lights, and when the green flag falls, we're underway then here in Belgium. And just wait a few seconds. 3, 2, 1, and I think we're underway then. Good start from Zat, then he jumps the start then very well. He gets himself perfectly off there, and there's already trouble in the background there. Looks like Rotary off in the background already, so trouble down there at turn number 1 before he even got started at the beginning of this race. Well, I think that's got a concertina for him as he come down Radion towards El Rouge, and it's so far Zat 101. Good start for him. Then comes X, a good start for the Porsche driver in the background. I think everyone getting themselves absolutely perfectly away. One car very close to that wall. And that was Big Kid Daddy, Jazzman and Tinnis. They're going close to that wall as well. Down there is a few cars going wide. That is the Lamborghini of Big Kid Daddy. Running a little bit wide so far. Right down the back of the field, but they're in huge trouble. That is Darren Sinclair. And that is SMM Rotary. And I'm fearing that's been contact down there at turn 1, or at least that Glitz Barrow. And that's already Ethan's racing trouble. And there goes Overtaker off the road. And he's pointing the wrong way, and there's another car off there. It's one of the out
that's
off
Davies
as well.
out.
And it's already in trouble to start this race. And S is leading. Zat 101 also in trouble, dropping that down the field. There's also Collins at the start of this race. Vetter's up to 5th already, and stonking start from the Porsche driver. Now having contact there. That is with Fred as well. So the start of this race, and Vetter now coming from the outside there, down to Rick's corner. A little bit nods there, a little bit wide. Now up to 4th position then. Here comes Jazzman all the way up to 6th position as well. Stonking start from the championship leaders there. Tinnis also in the battle as well. He's with Big Kid Daddy. Jasmine up the inside of every person. Big Kid Daddy down there in 8th position. Good start for him, keeping himself nice, cool and collective. He's with Tinnis as well up to 9th. Chicano down to 10th. Ethan now in 11th. Davies out. Contact with Overtaker down into the com on the first lap. So trouble there already. And Essa leads this race, Jess.
Well, the last time Essa has led a race was Formula Rookie, the Filler League, which you, Mr. Evil, took part in as well. And he did really well in that, but not going to say too much more about Essa. But let's hope he could keep things under pressure. He's got Slicker and Vetro, which are chasing down every move. Big Kid Daddy, though, he's right in the middle of 2 chasing guards. We've got every person in front of him, and we got one of the Ferraris. I think that's Pren. Yeah, that's Pren. And then we got Tinners right in the back as well. Tinner's not getting the best of starts like his teammate did, though, but he's just taking it steady. I think he's not rushing too much, because if he rushes too much, then he could get involved in some instances. And maybe there is a method to his strategy at the moment, and he just wants to play it safe on the opening few laps, because he knows that people could make mistakes in the opening lap. So we can see one of the Porsches trying to make a move. That's Vetro. Oh, they almost made contact. They almost made contact.
Yeah, he's having a little lunge there. Now he's got Jasmine behind him. He'll be side by side up towards our road. Now Porsche versus Ferrari. The Porsches should be quick around here, but the Ferraris are no meeting threat. Side by side up our roads. The Vetro on the inside. From the outside there goes the Ferrari. Jasmine having a look on the inside as well there. Right, there goes. That is Slicker off the road. Now Jasmine's going to try and strip around the outside. Yellow flags flying in the background for something. Now down towards the famous Lacombe chicane. 3, 4 nearly wide there down the straight. 2 by 2 they come then. It's Vetzer in the inside there. It's also Jasmine round the outside. Goes Jasmine. He keeps keeping on the road. Yes, he does. Round 2 cars in the space of what? 100 yards? Beautiful stuff there. Slicker getting swamped there. Here goes Vetzer. Down the inside for the Dutchman then on the Brett. Let's see on the late braking then from the Porsche. Does the Ferrari up the inside. Good stuff there from the ever so experienced, the ever so improving Vetzer this season. He's a reinvigorated driver from last season, might be saying. He's on the move so far. Darren Sinclair in the pit lane from the start of this race. He had trouble at the beginning in the barrier from the get-go. Now, Pren challenging for his teammate behind the Big Kid Daddy. Then Tinnis as well. Tinnis all over the back of these guys. And Tinnis always looking pretty prominent right now. Let's see on board then with your championship leader. And he's always looking for those few positions. But up front of this race, we've got Essa leading, Zat 101. In 2nd position, holding on right now. We got Jazzman in 3rd, Vector in 4th, then comes Slicker, Pren, Big Kid Daddy and Tinnis. Further back down the field, we've got the likes of every person, Chicano, Davies out. We've got Overtaker and Davies out. Those are involved in contact. Rotary as well at the start of this race. I think Vector's gone off the road. So on, it is Vector off the road at the beginning of this race as well. So when I say he's doing well, again, he's off the road, and well, that can always mean one or two things. Struggling on the inside of those curbs, down into Stavolo too. Slicker now back up to 4th in this little gaggle of cars. He's got Pren always looking for his inside. See Pren gonna have a little lunge up the inside of 63, the almost team-esque cars, might we say. But they are not teammates. Now on the outside, I think Tennis going on the outside of Big Kid Daddy there. I think he might just get the move done down towards the first corner alongside his fellow comrade, his fellow long-time friend, long-time rival as well. Big Kid Daddy should just about hold that position on the outside, but on the inside, he should just be able to give it there. Now, the question is, though, side by side to our road. Let's see, he's got the position perfect. Tennis has just got that position on the exit speed then. Big Kid outside, he wants to back out of that one for the time being. Just settle back into your race. Out 101 now, down to 3rd position, up to 2nd now for Jazzman. Now we go then down the straight again. Now, this is always going to be just where we're going to see overtake. Remember, the Lamborghini's very quick around here, the Ferrari as well. So it's almost going to be a stalemate because it's really, if you're in the Lamborghini, the Ferrari or the Merc, you're going to be very quick around here. As I think every person have a look on Vectra then, the Porsche, not as quick around here. I think Vectra may have got some damage on the front of that car as well.
Yeah, it looks it. I mean, he's just passed the Com now and into Brussels or Bruxelles or whoever you like to call it, and he's just
he's
going off.
again.
He's off again as well. And be careful to not hit every person as you go side by side. I think they're okay as well. I think we've got the Ferrari staying out of that one. But yeah, Vetro trying to make up for lost time here. It doesn't seem to have worked. We'll have to wait and see. And I think he's not happy. He's either disconnected or he's just not happy with himself whatsoever. But yeah, Vetro managed to get past the corner of No Name, okay, so that's good.
Sixth corner, actually. It's called now, Jess. Fun fact for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sixth corner, it's now known. Ethan, I do not believe happy. I'm not sure what happened to start that race. Of contact potentially with Darren Sinclair. He didn't see it, of course, so he can't say a lot about that one. Meanwhile, Jazzman now at second position, started hunt off after Essa. Essa doing a phenomenal job at the start of this race, holding on the one of two Porsches right now in this race at the front of the field right now. The other one down there in 8th position after a bit of issues earlier on. We've now got Slicker, Tinnis, Friend, Biggie Daddy, Vetro battling away with the McLaren of every person. Chicano down there in 10th place, Overtaker in 11th, Davies out in 12th, and Darren Sinclair, the big gap back of this race so far. Lap 4 now on to lap 5, Jess, of 38, and now we're starting to wonder, when is that rain going to fall? Well, we expect in the next 5 to 10 minutes, in the next 4 or 5 laps.
I think so as well, and I almost forgot to unmute myself, so that was a bit of an idiot of me there. But as they go just past the source now, and I think Tinnis trying to get the run on Slicker there. He does that not too bad, actually, but Slicker is challenging for this position, and he's not going to let Tinnis get that position that easy as well. I've got to say, Jazzman and Essa battle for the lead. Here we go, going into the Kemmel Straight, going side by side. Jazzman's going to get the better run by looks of things. And he's a lot faster in a straight line, the Lamborghini, and there he goes into Le Com, and he takes the lead.
Meanwhile, behind them, Ferrari, and the Lamborghini. Lamborghini's up the inside there. That is Big Kid Daddy, not going to get any room up the inside between those two. Jazzman, 1 second. Penalty here, there goes Pren. Is he going to tap the wall, gets away with it? Oh, that's out. What's happened to that there? He's gone off there, so that's the rear end through the com lens, so that's proving again on this game a very difficult on the likes of the set. Of course, it was a very difficult corner. The rear end always is going to step out. Jazzman there, that is a 1 second time penalty for exceeding track limit. That's a track limit infringement. Tinnis now up to 3rd. Behind him, we've still got Slicker battling away with Big Kid Daddy there. Vetcher now back up to 7th in this race. So the Ferrari's starting to drop down the field ever so slightly. Big Kid Daddy starting to come through in this race as well. And you always got to wonder, Jess, now, Big Kid Daddy, 3rd in the championship. That's only going to cement his place a bit more because Ethan's now out of this race. So you can only imagine this is going to be a bit more of a confidence boost for him. I've got to say, though, actually, all things considered, behind Vetro, actually, not too far behind in terms of championship. He's in a rather, to be fair, lonely 5th place in the championship. He's 31 points, I think, behind Ethan. He's 28 ahead of Darren Sinclair. Darren Sinclair down there in 13th position right now in this field. Vetro is looking very fine and dandy right now for him. Starting to count up 4th in the championship. He's having a stellar season, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's been a little bit more consistent. Don't forget, he did get that podium in Zolder, of course. And to be honest, he wasn't expecting it at all. And he's looking very strong here too. Big Kid Daddy. Also, he went through the bump there, going just past the bus stop there. These guys have got to be careful with the bumps and the track temperatures. You can see the shadows on the track a little bit more now as it's starting to get into the evening time here in Spa. Someone's gone off.
Yeah, Slicker gone deep there, locked the front, looked like he locked the front tyre up potentially, or just carried too much momentum through. Looked like he stopped it okay, but just then suddenly the car went straight on. So he got the first bit correctly, but just whatever reason didn't get the second bit absolutely perfect. Meanwhile, Vetro in 7th, Chicano in 8th. Overtaking now down into 9th position from 2nd on the grid, so he's dropped back at the start of this race. Zout 101 now with his brothers out. Davey, Davy's out, whatever you want to call it. Both of the Zout brothers, of course, doing a phenomenal job, might we say, so far. Remember, we were always potentially going to see them drop down the field, but nonetheless, they've always been consistent. Despite they make mistakes, of course, but no, everyone drives to make mistakes. There was Davey Zout down the inside of his brother there. I think Zout decided he wants to back out of that one. Not sure there. Maybe that was a choreographed move. They don't want to hold each other up for some reason, but very late move then, or very early braking, might we say, from the Mercedes. So he backed out of that one quite early. Meanwhile, tennis on the back of Essa. Essa now 5 seconds nearly off the pace from your race leader, Jazzman, getting the bit between his teeth. Here in Spa, then the land of the beauty in the Ardennes forest. And like we say, if it rains here, Jess, it doesn't just rain, it pours. And, well, rain is forecast, and rain will fall when the stars start to come out. So we're going to be seeing some extremely dark conditions. Now, remember, in the 12-time progression, it's going to be about a lap or two from when it starts to get dark. And then the next time they come around, it'll be almost pitch black. So we're going to be seeing some absolutely beautifully quick sunset around here today. Meanwhile, Chicane, he's behind Vector. We've got Overtaker sitting behind him in the other Ferrari. Behind them, Davies out, starting to drop back a little bit right now. Vector has been seeing in this around about this 5th, 6th, 7th position pretty much every time he's been in the opportunity this season. He's got a 3rd place a couple of races ago at the other Belgium circuit of Zolder.
It's raining!
And yes, I think it is starting to rain. I think you are correct, Jess. Some rain starting to fall then. So lap 6, I think I said about bang on the money around about lap 6. Now expect around about lap 10, 11, 12. You should see them starting to pit potentially for those wet tyres. Rain starting to fall. I can't see it on my screen, at least. Now you can see a few spots start to fly there. Tennis thinking about a move up towards Rouge, but things then again. You know what? It's a survival of the fittest right now. Now you can see the rain starting to fall on your screen. As well on the onboard camera. Now on the outside, Tennis should. Lamborghini versus Porsche. The Lamborghini we know has a superior straight line speed. Well, especially if we can get the momentum up here. But then again, saying that, Essa holding that line though, so they're not too far off the pace. But let's see, Tim's around the outside, just about squeezes through. But Essa's not giving up on it. But then on the exit, through the exit of the com, and there goes Tennis, squeezes him out. Absolutely pitch point perfect. Tennis this season just holding his line, just knows when he wants to make a move. I think that was Fren who just made a mistake there in the Ferrari, went off the road just down towards the com. So the com just really proving difficult at this stage of the race, and we've not even got to the wet yet.
Yeah, but I mean, this is getting to the point of the race also when it's not good enough for the wet tyres at all, and it's still raining, and I usually find that very difficult as well. So this is going to separate the men from the boys, pretty much see who has practiced in these conditions. Because in different lobbies, it comes out pretty much in different times and in a different intensity as well. So you're not going to get practice in the same on the same times really. So it is up to the way the lobby handles. As Overtaker late on the brakes there. That was a bit too squirmy there as well. But luckily he didn't hit to the back of Chicano though, and that would have been a nasty shunt if I do say so myself. But they're still together, so that's good. Oh my God.
I think he's losing it. He's caught it just about that. Overtaker looks like he's got no confidence right now in the rear end of the car, stepping out on the back end of a donkey right now. And you might just say Overtaker, he braked late there. He kind of got caught out due to Chicano. He was braking early due to the fact Vector ahead braking a little bit early as well. So concertinaing effect down the field. Now, we should see, I think, Chicano, have a little lunge around the outside of Vector here if he's got the line there. He thinks better of it down into the bus stop. Vector just about skating his way through the bus stop, which, aforementioned, isn't really a bus stop anymore. It used to be the bus stop, but then the FIA nurtured it in around about 2005-06 to build the new pit lane complex, which is a lot more straight. It made the start line a lot better indeed, a lot less dangerous. So that's always a plus side, but the bus stop chicane was rather turned into the bus stop chicane that fell over. So, alas, not a bus stop. Now, Zat 101 in the pit lane. Now, that surely is not for wet tyres at this stage of the race. I'd be very surprised. That'd be a very intriguing strategy, though it could work. Remember, it's a long circuit. It's there in the background. There is Chicano, Overtaker, and Vector Bank going. Now, the Ferraris are going to go swamping a Porsche 3 abreast then. Another one in the middle as well. Almost going to get 4 abreast on the car. There, and there's almost contact down the straight. I think Chicano, or is that I think that's Slicker involved, and there goes Overtake around again then into the comp. And that's the third time he's gone around there today, but somehow they all avoided there on the grass. Now, what happened there with Slicker, I'm wondering, because he was going very slowly and he's got damage on the front of that Ferrari, the number 50 Ferrari in trouble. His teammate flying past Chicano as well, veteran up to 6th place. Very fortunate there. He was not caught out in a monster accident, and fair play there to Overtaker, all things considered, putting on the grass in the wet to just try and avoid that accident because he realised very suddenly Slicker, for whatever reason, he may have had trouble at the top of El Rouge. Radion was going very slowly, and you can see he's dropping back, and now surely, Jess, I think it's time for everyone to come in for the wet tyres.
Yeah, it is. Well, not chucking it down, but it's definitely not enough for the dry tyres. I mean, I would struggle if I was in those conditions. So you got to keep your car fully planted, really. And for around Blanchimont in this weather, it's very tricky. But Jazzman and Tinnis seem to manage it very well, and so did Big Kid Daddy. Speaking of Big Kid Daddy, he's not that far from Essa, around about 6/10 of a second now. So this could see an opportunity to make a move once we get out of the pit. So always Big Kid Daddy late on the brakes as well. Big Kid Daddy stays out, but Essa goes in.
Essa's the only one in the pit lane. Now surely everyone's going to come and follow Essa then. So is this a strategy call? That friend in the pit lane. Vetro's surely going to follow. Now they're all going to follow her because I see one car in the pit lane. They're all going to come in. Never mind.
No, you will.
Is Slicker going to come in the pit lane?
Yes.
Slicker's going to come in the pit lane. So the Ferraris all coming in. Then looks like every person stays out. Overtaker stays out. So this is now going to be interesting. Now, surely if Essa starts going quickly here, the rule is going to come in because you can see, look, now the circuit. You can see the spray. You can see the shine on the circuit, Jess. In the pit lane, the sky now starting to darken as well. This is surely around about the time everyone's going to be coming in now because it's going to be interesting. Now, Essa could be in a very good position right now. So is Bren. These 2-3 drivers could see themselves coming for the field. Now, I think Slick is going to do some damage limitation here. He's got some damage on the front of his Ferrari, respectively. He's taking on some fuel as well. Bren on the exit of the pit lane. This is going to be the situation now. Are we going to see Essa starting to come through, starting to set a lot quicker lap times? So keep an eye on his pace. He's 55 seconds down. We'll keep an eye on that one, see if it drops very suddenly. So if it starts dropping quickly now, we then will know it's time for the wet tyres. Not seeing anyone really struggling and aquaplaning around this circuit right now. Chicano in 5th. Behind them, Davies out in 6th. Overtaker in 7th. Every person in the McLaren is somewhere on the circuit. Where is he? There he is, down there into X corner. Named, of course, after the legendary Jackie X, Belgium racing driver. And one of the greater endurance drivers as well. He won Le Mans amazing, 7 times, if I'm not too mistaken. He was rather the king of Le Mans, of course, from the old days before, of course, the more modern drivers started to rack their records up. And now I'm wondering, are we going to see a Jazzman in the pit lane list lap? Surely now it's time to come in. Yeah, he's going to bail in that pit lane now. Get a nice slow down. Don't want to hit that pit wall. We've seen that a few times before in the types of racing on this game. You can see as Tinnis almost hits that wall. Now, looking at the gap here, Essa, 50 seconds, and that was before he came in the pit lane. Essa's taken 4 seconds out of them here. Vicky Daddy now in the pit lane as well, just about getting his car stopped. Vetro up to 4th position. I think that's due to, I think Chicano's even dropped behind him there. Potentially, I think that might have just been because Essa and Pren came in the pit lane as well. But Vetro now, also now in the pit lane.
They have to. They have to. Look at the track. You can see the illuminations as well. It's very, very slippy as well. If they haven't gone into the pits now, then I would be worried for them. So luckily, they're all going in already. Where is Essa going to come out on all this? And Pren as well. Pren may have stayed a bit longer in Chicano as well.
I reckon Tinnis has jumped Jazzman again. Oh, they've come out together, to be fair. Again, Tinnis
nailed it.
Doing the pit stops, beating Jazzman out. They are inside each other right there, and we do not condone Lamborghini pornography in the chat, lads. But
social distancing.
Lambo's doing interesting things. Vicky Day comes out. Essa's going to jump them all. Essa's up to 3rd again, Jess, and he's going to be out by a long way.
Yeah, we'll see the gap.
Well, last year we about, I think, 15 seconds, ahead of, behind the likes of the top 2, but I think about 4 seconds ahead of Big Kid Daddy, I think, give or take. 2.5, and then Vetro fine 5th so far. He'd be side by side with Pren on the exit of the pit. Then he's got Chicano behind him as well. Then he's got every person back between Porsche, Ferrari, McLaren, Ferrari, and the other Ferrari as well up front now. Battle for your top 2. Now, we've seen this before, Jess. Wet conditions. Jazzman struggled before in the wet. Now, Tinnis has been a master of these wet types of races. He's always there. And always just watch out below him. We just noticed you've seen there, a few of them been knocked down. The bollards on the inside of the corners, they will give you damage and can really, really ruin your race if you hit them. So expect to see a few drivers potentially hit them and maybe damage their cars. I think a few of them may have been knocked over already. So we'll see that in due course. You can see them there down into Fania then. They're all still standing there. Apart from one of them's been knocked down, so someone's been a bit naughty down there and taken one out. Darren Sinclair in the pit lane in the Bentley. Sorry, in the BM Audi. The BM Audi. The new BM Audi out now. The Porsche, which is a Beetle, if you want to call it that, because of course it looks like a Beetle. It's like a Swiss Beetle that's been stretched, I wish to call it. He's currently in 6th position. He's right behind the Ferrari of Pren. He's going to be ahead of Pren now because side by side Pren a little bit wide through the exit of Puon. Now Vetro should just be able to slot himself around the outside. In the wet, brave enough though. Keeps the line, does him around the outside. So fair play there from Vetro. Holds his line relatively well. Meanwhile, Jazzman behind his teammate Tinnis still. The gap now situating at around about 1 second. And Jazzman's going to be wanting to get ahead of his teammate pretty quickly, I reckon, because he's not going to be happy stuck behind him.
No, luckily they don't do any team orders though. The bosses are letting them race around this circuit. And we know Tinnis will want to be ahead of Jazzman and vice versa, because Jazzman is the one that is chasing Tinnis in the championship. If he doesn't get ahead of Tinnis, then there's going to be trouble to capitalise for the final 2 rounds. A few people gone slippery. That is the end. That's Chicano.
Yeah, but role-playing Raikkonen, Jess, going wide through the exit of
typical
Lonchimon.
And he goes wide again. Oh my goodness, it is hard for these puddles.
Yeah, every person should be able to get past both the Ferraris. Then you can see the spread, you can see the shine on the circuit. Absolutely incredible then. Down the inside of one Ferrari. I think the other one of Chicano having a look back up the inside. Thinks better of it now. Every person down the inside of the 63, the 53 following, and the other Ferrari there of Overtaker just sitting back, just relaxing a little bit, going, oh, I hope these guys don't all end up piling into each other, because that's going to be a monumental shunt. And they all survive this time around up towards Rally and up towards Earl Rood. That is, every person then, Prem, Chicano, Overtaker, Davies, Zout, sitting a little bit further back as well. But a good race so far from the Porsche driver of Essa, who we don't often see in these podium-esque positions. Right now doing a stellar job due to that undercut, due to stopping that little lap earlier for those wet tyres on Biki Danny. Vetro now starting to pull away ever so slightly through as they come into Normandy then from the likes of every person, Pren and Overtaker as well. Pren starting to challenge. I think he's being overtaken actually by his fellow comrade, actually by Chicano and Overtaker battling together, and Overtaker on the outside, but it's getting a bit squeezed out there, Jess.
Yeah, going side by side in corners that sometimes you would not expect they would do it in the rain, but they seem to be doing it very, very well indeed. And Overtaker trying to forget what happened at the start of the race and continue on its merry way for the rest of this race, because the driving period is over as Overtaker's gone off a little bit, but luckily he didn't go into the wall. So nice car control from Overtaker to get that back in the track eventually. But you can see the Bentley, he's charging up the field really, really quickly. So the other cars have got to get a move on.
Indeed, just keeping an eye on the battle between first and second. Gap now starting to open up to nearly 1.6 seconds now, actually, as it drops back down. Fluctuating quite a lot between the top two, right, we say. Meanwhile, Pren's starting to pull, every person's starting to pull away in the McLaren right now, looking pretty comfortable. Chicano battling away then with the other Ferrari. The Ferrari's in line and stern, right, we say, right now. 1, 2, 3 of the 4 of them. Because the fourth one, just seeing a little bit further down there, there he is of Slicker. A man who's often does quite well in these wet conditions in the past. And right now, as the rain starts to fall, torrential conditions around this circuit here in the Ardennes Forest, as Pren locks himself up, goes straight across and should just about be able to rejoin I think
Yep.
Chicane should get ahead of him there due to the amount of speed he'll carry. I think he has got ahead of his fellow Ferrari rival, and indeed he has, I think, also, Overtaker getting past as well, but Overtaker just locking up, almost rear-ending the back of there, and here comes Davies out in this as well. The Bentley, and we always say this as well, the Bentley, the heaviest car of the lot of them, it's going to have a lot more traction around here.
Yeah, it looks like it, to be honest. I think the Bentley is well suited for these wet conditions too, would have thought, Evil.
Man, you would have imagined a Bentley, of course, big chunky car. It's a lot more heavy then. You can see that is Overtaker losing the rear end at the top of Radion. Keeps himself just on that racing island. You can run on board then with Davies out. You can just see these two up the road, and then see, is it going to be Overtaker, or is it Chicane up the inside, or is it Fred up the inside? Fred up the inside of Overtaker. They're all kind of morph into each other, to be fair. The Ferraris still look very similar. I mean, the only one that looks different is the blue and yellow one. As I think Davies out's going to go and say, you know what, I want to get one of you Ferrari boys. And down into Brussels, he goes down the inside, squeezes them out, and Bob's your uncle. Easy does, easy goes. A little high, a little bit low. And wherever the wind blows, Davies out goes through and past that Ferrari.
And just knocked over Bullard at the same time there, someone did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is a bit interesting there. But yeah, it's nice to see the Ferraris racing against each other. We've got a Ferrari 7th, Ferrari 8th, and then we've got a Bentley in between them. Then we've got one Ferrari of Pren, and then we've got another Ferrari of Slicker as well. At the front, we've got Lambo, Porsche, McLaren.
McLaren, yeah.
I am starting to know these manufacturers off by heart now. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, Vetcho doing okay in 5th right now, his usual 5th. I spoke to him earlier, by the way, and he was saying he was not comfortable down into the exit of Stadler. Now, we'll see it potentially in this race. There is a horrible puddle down there, and you'll see when they hit that puddle, because you'll see a car flying off spectacularly into the wall. And we'll just keep an eye on it. We'll see if we can get a view of it there. We'll see on the inside there, it will start to form around about lap 18. We should see that puddle really in its maximum capacity. So a few drivers might struggle down there. The likes of the bus stop as well. A lot of puddles form down there. An occasional one will form down at the bottom of our route, of course, the Red River, as it's most commonly known. While Davies out, looking on the back of now Overtaker in that Ferrari, just about holding on that position. He started second on the grid. Davies out started, I think, about 4th or 5th.
Oh.
He almost decides to reconfigure the rear end of that Ferrari and turn it into a different type of Ferrari, the Bentley, which is absolutely phenomenally massive compared to the Ferrari you'd see. To be fair, though, in terms of actual size, it's not actually so much different than you'd imagine. I mean, the Bentley's only what? Okay, it's quite a lot bigger, actually. I'll take the word back. It's very big.
Yeah, it is very big compared to the other cars, I've got to say, but it still looks nice around the Ardennes Forest and in the night time, and we're almost starting to get into the proper night time now.
Indeed, we very much are. You can see now, you'll just start to see actually the difference between... Now, if you're wondering what the difference between the white lights and the yellow lights you'll see for the likes of every person to the Chicane and the Ferrari. Now, the Ferrari, no matter what in this game, it is the 24-hour specification of the Ferrari. It's the one that will run at night time. The likes, of course, of, I think, Overtaker, Davies out, they're all running the endurance spec. Now, that is for the light, because remember, more yellow light, it's easier to see. It's a lot more brighter as well than the white light on this game. I believe it does replicate that. So the white lighted cars may struggle a little bit more in the darker conditions compared to the yellow ambient lighted cars. So that is what, if you're wondering what the difference between those two are, that is the reason why one is endurance and the white one is the normal one. As if you didn't know that. Did you know that, Jess?
I did know that because it happened in Long Beach as well, where the endurance spec cars were running yellow lights and everybody else was running the white lights. So it was very interesting to know that fact in Long Beach as well, that it's replicating that in Spa. I think it looks better in Spa, to be honest, around the Ardennes Forest. It's so much prettier as well, lovely views, and you're more than likely going to get overtakes there as well, as Davies out has nearly gone off, and Overtaker there as well. So that is intriguing to say the least. But watch out for the dirty yellow, I think, and the spray for this latest stage of the race, because I don't know how these guys are going to do it if they're closing up to their gearbox. But I'm sure Davey is up to the challenge.
So yeah, not really a thing in the wet, Jess, you must say. I mean, GT3 cars, you're not your normal Formula 1 car like Larry's. There goes overtaken a little bit wide there. He should just, I think, he'll hold that position due to the Ferrari. Now, this is actually kind of interesting now here. Who's going to be the quickest down the straight line, down towards Blanche, down towards our road? I won't want to do this in the wet, by the way, lads. I'll back out of there. I think the friend just hit the wall behind them. No, I don't think he did. I think for a second I thought I saw a Ferrari hit that wall, but alas, I think that was just the lighting playing trickery on me. No one's hit that blitzed wall, apart from I think Darren Sinclair on that one. I think may have touched it or had an issue down there with Ethan on the beginning of this race. We'll confirm that later on if we can get a look on the chat if he's put it in there. Dennis, meanwhile, leading this race from his teammate Jazzman. Those two doing a good job right now. They're many seconds up the road, 30 seconds right now ahead of Essa, who's starting to get handled a little bit by Bicky Daddy right now. Bicky Daddy last lap a 2:31.2, about a second a lap quicker than Essa right now, but you can't discredit Essa right now. He's driving a phenomenal job. So is Bicky Daddy, so is everyone, to be fair, to keep it on this road in what can only be described as treacherous conditions, Jess.
Yeah, I wouldn't have managed it. That's why I'm in the commentary box rather than racing. But I have to say, in any car in these wet conditions around Spa, it's treacherous, and you got to have skill to manage your car in these conditions, because it's very slippery around there as well, and you got to make sure that you don't get on the power too early as well. The braking zone is different in the night time and in the wet as well. They got to manage two things as well, night conditions and wet conditions. It is very, very intriguing to say the least, but yeah, these drivers are doing a really, really good job and producing some good lap times as well.
Indeed. Well, I'll just quickly do something in a second. There was just turning my TV up then because I couldn't see anything from the darkness. Meanwhile, Vets are off the road and a little bit wide there. And we will have an interview, by the way, in the middle of this race. I think Ethan in the com box ready for an interview. He said he wants, if he's ready for an interview. So we'll drag him in just a few moments' time if we've got a little bit less action going on. So we'll drag him in. Or Jess, you can drag him in because I'm doing the camera work right now. As meanwhile, Jazzman and Tinnis up front in this race. They're just keeping a nice, cool and collective right now. And you just got to say, Jazz, these two always seem to be dominating these types of races. I mean, they're 30 seconds up the road. But remember, we're only 15 laps into this race, Jazz. It just shows you the Lamborghini, to be fair, the top two Lamborghinis really driving their heart out right now. Bicky Daddy's a little bit struggling, but he's also going quick as well. So the three Lamborghinis, Jazz, today. I mean, you can't discredit Esser. He's driving a phenomenal race. That undercuts work perfectly for his strategy. But you could just see the gap starting to form, Jess. This could be a scenario for the rest of this race.
This could be as well, but don't forget, you only get points at the end of the race, not at the middle of the race. So these guys are just got to make sure that they keep going right up until the end. And they may have to pit again towards the end if the conditions get better. Well, it will. It will start to dry up towards the end of this race. So they will have to think about doing another stop. But, you know, Tinnis and Jazzman, they're the main reasons why they're at the top of their game right now. They also took part in the Logitech G Challenge as well at the weekend as well. So well done to them for those two. And they definitely did us proud even where they finished as well. So well done to them as well. And well done to a few other guys as well that I know that also did well in those Logitech G Challenges on any region. So yeah, I didn't watch it myself because I didn't have time. But yeah, there's still a few more chances for people we know to get through to the regional finals. I don't know why Jazzman qualified for the Europe one instead of the one near him, but I'm guessing it's time zones, rather than region. But yeah, we'll see.
Meanwhile, we've got three commentators. We have a former commentator who's my favourite second commentator who replaces me when I'm racing. It's Mr. Ethan right now, who had an incident or something, Ethan, at the beginning of this race. If you can hear us, Take us through what happened at the start of that race. Did someone hit the glitch wall?
Someone definitely hit the glitch wall, all right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to hold back my full emotions, but I can't explain just how like actually angry I am of what's happened. I'm just gonna say the formation lap. I don't know why everyone was going so slow and then speeding up, and then we took forever to get started, and my lane was just slow at getting going. And you know, I wasn't so bothered about that, but just going down to the hill, and I said about that glitch wall, but it just seems nobody pays attention. And Darren Sinclair, I watched him and BKD going side by side, and you saw what happened with Sergio Perez in Ocon in 2017.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be. I don't know what exactly happened, but from my point of view, I could be incorrect, but it looked like BKD just completely shoved him into the wall, and that was it. It's just Darren just came to a complete stop. I had nowhere to go, and it gave me tons of damage, which actually got repaired relatively quickly. That's why I came out about 40 seconds behind. So I was thinking, you know, I've had bad races at Spa before, and I've managed to come back through, you know, with decent pace. So I thought, okay, it's not the end of the world. We'll carry on, because I know my wet pace is pretty decent. I know my dry pace is pretty good. So we'll just see how it goes and just do the best that I can do. And then same lap, I go slightly wide at Blanchimont, lift off there, let the penalty go, and then I went wide out the exit of the bus stop, which you usually can do. It doesn't really give you anything. And a ding comes up, so I'm like, okay, then I'll just lift off. And then I'm yielding for the entirety of the pitch straight, doing about 150 kph. It's not gone. Still lifting, still yielding, and it just gives me a straight 23-second penalty, just out of nowhere. And I know Jazzman's already got a penalty, and he definitely doesn't have a penalty at that high rate. So I was just like, you know what? I'm just not even going to bother. It may sound quite ungrateful, but I'm here to have fun and race. I'm not here to sit at the back getting screwed over by a game that just can't handle correctly. It's a bit of a stupid joke, and that's the way things are, unfortunately, with this game. But yeah, just a nightmare. Let's put it that way.
Meanwhile, your teammate's getting hounded right now by a McLaren. Got Salo up front, as we predicted. Potentially, Lamborghini started to pull away, but that was never in doubt. We're 16 laps into this race, Ethan, and
is that a surprise?
6 seconds, and they're really strong around this circuit. I've got to say though, you look, Essa in third, pretty impressive, don't you say, for your fellow Porsche driver.
Yeah, it's on merit, but you know, Big Kid Daddy is probably going to come through as it is anyway. His pace is definitely quicker. No disrespect to Essa. The three Lamborghinis, they're just quick. That's the way it's going to be. That's the way it is with this game. That's why I'm just kind of done with it, because it's the same old story every season. You know, it's always the same two cars at the front. It's either a Mercedes or a Lamborghini, and that's not fun. You know, you want to see diversity. You want to see a different car at the front or at the helm sometimes, and it's just not possible with this game. I mean, no disrespect to Tinnis and Jazzman and BKD, they're great drivers.
Oh, that's Zal that's binned it in the pits there.
Yeah, that's Austin Powers nearly.
Yeah, there is.
Seen that before.
No disrespect to them, they're brilliant drivers, but you know, it's like you said, Evil, last week. How much is it the car and how much is it the driver? Because if I'm honest, it's not that difficult to do that well with the Mercedes and Lamborghini. It's not difficult at all. So it's the same old like it is in Formula One. But that's not the driver's fault. It's not the car's fault. It's the people who've made the game the way it is. And you know, you just gotta get on with it, haven't you?
Yeah, we very much do. Up 17 out of 38 in this race right now. Only battle going on between Vettel and every person right now. Porsche versus McLaren. Oh, never mind, because there goes the McLaren off the road. He caught it that time. Just about, as now, guess what? Chicano's in the battle as well, so never mind. Three-way battle. Ferrari, McLaren, and Porsche. Three manufacturers, three different types of cars, and oh dear, there goes that 101. Now, that, to me, looks like that might not have been a disconnection, though, I must say.
I think he might have got the same penalty as Ethan, probably.
He hit the pit wall, and that would have done a lot of damage to that car. And I reckon that probably, we can't say what happened, that might have been disconnection. Meanwhile, there goes every person down the inside, thinks about in the wet, almost nudges Vectro a little bit wide. Gets away with it, gets the rear end squiggly wiggly woo on the exit. There goes Vector Powers on the exit, driving his heart out right now. Overtaker just sitting back as well. Davies out, also involved with this a little bit as well, coming through. 3, 4, 5 cars starting to close up in each other again for every person. Trying on the outside, trying on the inside. He's trying to force Vector the long way round. Vector just holding his line left, right, and centre right now. The Porsche should be quick in a straight line. The McLaren as well. We've seen how quick this car can be. He has a little breakout, but though Vector a lot quicker up the top of our road. Now this is all just going to allow Chicano might come through here if he's not too careful. Chicano a little bit further back right now, but every person just holding his line right now. The McLaren seemingly starting to come alive in this start stage of the race. It seems to be, in these wet conditions, McLaren looking a little bit comfortable right now, Jess.
Yeah, it is. I think every person seems to be doing well in these mixed conditions as well. I mean, he's looking to get his best result of the season. His best result was a mixture of P7s and P6s. He likes P7s and P6s at the moment, and P8s as well. The lowest he scored was a P10 in Austria in the first endurance race, so he's looking to score a little bit better. But at the moment, though, he's looking set to potentially battle Vetro for a majority of this race, and it's nice to see every person getting a little bit more comfortable in that McLaren car, Evil.
Indeed, it definitely is always good to see a McLaren doing well. Last time I think I saw a McLaren was a long time ago, actually, from this season. It was season, I don't know. I generally can't remember before that.
I can't remember on the Xbox side, but I'll have to. I'll have to probably go into the deep archives. There may be some in other tiers that haven't been broadcasted, but we don't know.
Yeah, tier 2, they'll always see tier 2, 3 and all that. They always use a very diverse grid of, like, I think Nissans and all that used to use. I don't know how people can drive the Nissan quickly. To be fair, every time I drive it, I end up either upside down or spinning. That's either me, or definitely me, because I can't drive the Nissan. I drive the Ferrari quite well, but that's probably because it's a slightly easier car. And Chicano, a little bit further back, of talking of the Ferrari, is every person continuing to pile on that pressure down toward the bus stop. Again, looks like he's kind of a little bit stuck behind that Porsche right now. And I reckon he wants to be coming through because more Vetro holds him up a little bit. And more this is kind of just helping him, actually, because every person he's stuck behind it in the spray. But it's also a kind of a situation right now as if every person can see that car ahead. You imagine they shed the lights pretty bright on that McLaren, to be fair. You can see the background as, well, I say they're pretty bright. He just rear-ended into turn 1, so it couldn't be ever so bright enough, but the spray very difficult to see, nonetheless, on this game. But then again, if you turn your lights off, then you don't get any spray, but you can't see anything either, so it's a win-win scenario, really. You either can't see anything or you can't see anything. Every person off the top of the hill,
that was
just
close.
About keeping it, that one on the road. I gotta say, the Bentley's starting a race, staying on this little group actually as well, and we could say a lot about the Bentley, Jess, and if you're still here, I think, and Bentley's surprisingly quite quick in a straight line and quite quick on these types of circuits.
Yeah, the Bentley, a car that I'm very, very familiar with, not just on this game, ACC, and also in real life. I've been given, had the opportunity to get up close and really personal with. That sounds kind of wrong. Let me rephrase that. The opportunity given by Bentley to learn about the car itself. You look at it and it looks like it's a big boat and all that. It gets a lot of scrutiny for how it looks, but when you actually learn about the car, it is so technical and actually really innovative. The 4-litre V8, which is in the newest car, which does share the same engine as the one that's on the track right now, it sits very, very low in the car, so you've got a low centre of gravity. It sits very far back as well, so it's a front engine car, but it sits quite midship as well. And it punches a big hole. I mean, the Gen 1 car, which is what Davies Out's using, it was a strange car. It was certainly competitive in some cases, and it's competitive here, but that's just the way Bentley's
Vectro! He's hit the puddle down into Stavolo, and around he goes. And that's the one thing I said we might see, Jess, is that puddle and Vetro. He's done practice a lot, and he's done it again. Back to you, Ethan.
The Gen 1, I don't know too much about. It's more the Gen 2 car I know a lot more, but the Gen 1 is just the basis of trying to take a car that weighs over 2 tons, make it into a GT car, and just see how it can do. It's, won actually quite a few races. It's very good at pull recards and stuff like that. But the Gen 2 car, which is unfortunately not in this game and not in the next game, but we won't talk about that other one. We don't talk about that. The one in ACC, that car, it's such a beautiful car to drive, very beautiful to look at, sounds great. And the amount of work they've done to the Gen 2 car to make it even more competitive. It sits even lower, it's a bit wider, it's a bit more sharp. I mean, I was even speaking to Alex Buncombe, who drove the Bentley and stuff like that. He used to drive the Nissan, and he says that it was just so much easier to get the car up to grip, up to temperature, just being able to drive it. It was a lot more connected to the ground, to the way it was designed, and that's something Bentley's done very well. Obviously, every person, Davies Alps driving a Gen 1, which is pretty decent in this game. I was going to consider it for this season, but went with the Porsche instead. But it's just great to see the big old V8 and the big old Bentley bringing the thunder as it usually does at Spa.
Indeed. The only car I think that I've ever seen that has a light-up grille. I've only realised it. The grille lights up. I didn't realise it did that until I just noticed it. And I've commentated a lot of races, but then again, not many of them have been there. It's always very pretty, isn't it?
It definitely does look pretty, the grille lights. I've only just noticed that myself, so learn something new every day, Evil. So, yeah, nice to see, especially in the night time, how lights can change everything. And they seem to be getting a bit less spray than the ones with the white lights, but they're still getting more spray when they're behind the car. So it's going to be hard for them to get past the course, but Davey Zhao is definitely holding his own in 7th place at the moment in the Bentley, so doing a good job as well. Not much battling happening on circuit apart from the midfield battle. So an overtaker, I think, is caught up to the back of that train as well.
I mean, well, talking about battles, Biggie Daddy finally, after 20 laps and after that absolutely gamble that Essa put in, which has worked a treat, by the way, because unless he goes off the road, which is me, and talking about going off the road, I thought for a second every person was in a different postcode right then, but no, he's still on the road, but it's always a possibility. Essa looking for a top 5 finish today, which is, I think, the highest he's got this season, Jess, if I'm not mistaken, is 5th?
I will check that. Essa has got a P. Highest he's got was a P6, and that was, I believe, around Kota.
Yeah, Kota then, and so he's on for at least a top 5 positions right now, because I mean, every person in the McLaren, which again, another car like the Bentley, just proving its worth around here. It is, of course, the 650, if I'm not mistaken. Of course, the new one is the 720, which is a far superior and better looking car, might I say, and it's one of the few cars that I'm actually looking at on a certain game, but we don't talk about that. But meanwhile, up front, Jazzman, Tinnis, 8 seconds, battling between them. Jazzman, the only man with a penalty day, 2 seconds. He's picked up another one, apart from Ethan, who got a 20-second penalty for going a bit deep into a corner, which is a bit strange for the game, but never mind about that one. Chicano struggling a little bit behind, so a few cars making a few little mistakes around here. It's nighttime, Jess, as well, and it's almost turned into a race of attrition, really. I mean, you're kind of just driving on your own and around a circuit. And Ethan, you've driven plenty of races on your own. When you're just on your own out there, how easy just to get tunnel vision to make that kind of mistake?
It's easy. I mean, it depends on your mentality. Silverstone, that was a pretty good example of me being by myself for a majority of it. It all depends, really. I've done races where I've driven by myself plenty of times. I mean, Nürburgring in season 11, Le Mans 2.5 for the Triple Crown, other GT3 races in other leagues. Like I said, it really does depend on the mentality. sometimes I find it really. Sometimes I don't even feel like I'm driving the car. Like sometimes it can feel just perfect. Like you feel everything. You zone in. Like sometimes I'll zone in so much. All I can hear is just the transmission. I won't hear the tires scrubbing. I won't hear my paddle shifters or any of that. All I'll hear is just the car, and that's it. And you know, when you're in that zone, like Hamilton was at Catalonia, you know, it's something else.
And we lost another driver.
Yeah, that's Darren Sinclair at the race. He was, unfortunately, he was pretty much out of it from the beginning, lap damage. And I was got to say, and I mean, this is getting a little bit noticeable now. Drivers, you need to stop leaving the session like that. I mean, it does disable me. That caused me a lot of lag. And, I mean, sometimes you do that mistake, but when you're doing like that, you just don't retire like that. You just wait to me. But I suppose, I think Jasmine might have a few words to say after this race, but nonetheless, still 11 drivers in this race, Jess. Those who are staying, then fair play to them. Vetro's down there in 9th position.
Did we lose out as well?
Oh dear, that is lost to Powers. That is a retirement, I think. Is he? Yeah, he's stuck.
He's stuck. He hasn't got the reset button, I think, Evo.
Yeah, that's the first time I've seen that. And Fren, he will try his hardest. Come on, get out of that, Fren.
Come on, Fren. You can do it.
Come on, Fren. He's not getting that out. He's lost in Powers. And
Fren. That is very unfortunate. That is kind of like a Lando Norris moment where the mechanics fail or something like that, except you go into a wall.
He can spin that wheel as much as he wants. He can try as much as he can. He's not getting that free. I've not seen that for a long, long time. Even if you've seen a car stuck in that pit lane before like that.
Not in league racing, no.
So that's the first time it's probably happened then.
He's not getting out of that, I'm afraid. That's
he's going to lose engine damage as well. He's out of the race. So we're down to 10 runners now.
And, I mean, what? Has Overtaker lost his lights?
Yeah, his light is gone. He's got no lights.
Is he? You're not. Vetro's up to...
Yeah, he's dark. He's dark. I think Overtaker will get told off for that.
No, he's lost his lights, Jess. So he's had contact somewhere. Slicker's now up there as well. That's due to someone. So yeah, he's gone off the road then. So where's that gone off? The com again, I reckon. He's struggled there. He's gone off there 3 times. And
his bumper's gone as well. Yeah, look at it.
Luckily for him, this is very lucky for him. He's got 2 cars ahead of him. So he can at least see where he's going. Just about. But that is... I wouldn't want to be driving at whatever speed he's doing. Over 150, 60 Ks. Now, we don't know if he's lost his lights completely. He might have lights. Oh, Vetro's off again. And again, that's the second time he's hit those poles down there. He lost his rear wing. I think he's lost his rear ring there, Jess. I can't see. He has lost his rear ring.
It is hard to see in the dark, Evil, but yeah, he's lost his rear ring.
2 cars with major damage. In 3 cars with issues in the space of, what, 30 seconds. And Overtaker was to be careful. Vetro's to be very careful here, because we'll be doing that otherwise. That's... Fair play he's caught that there, but that is his race. Pretty much nailed to be a long afternoon as Overtaker
staying out with a bumper.
I'm not quite sure. Is Overtaker caught his light? Vetro staying out with no rear. That game's glitched, I'm afraid. I think the game's glitched, Jess.
I don't trust you. I don't
trust myself here, Vetro. You've got no rear ring, buddy.
Friend's disconnected.
That Friend was already out of this race. I think he's pulled the internet cable. I'm concerned. Right. Sit rep. So, Vetro's got no rear wing. Is he going to survive Rail Rouge? The answer is just a yes. Okay.
You're shocked about that, aren't you, Evil? Is he going to survive Radion? Yes.
He survived Radion. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. I think that's a bit of a graphical glitch, but you never say never because, I mean, Overtaker's driving at no lights right now.
Remember Formula Rookie where Big Kid Daddy had no engine cover and he still managed to get like a podium or something? So it's kind of like a visual glitch, I think, probably.
Okay, well, I think that might just be due to the people leaving. If you think that might be for the people leaving, that's desync the lobby a little bit.
Probably. I mean, if Victor had no rear wing, he would not be going that fast up a rouge. He'd probably be implanted in the barrier a little bit, and Overtaker will probably be in a barrier as well because he can't see where he's going. So yeah, it's probably just Project Cars doing Project Cars things.
Well, it makes a nice horror film, by the way. On board we go with Overtaker, then see what it looks like, and as you can tell, it's dark.
You can't see anything without any lights.
Yes, this is what it's like if you weren't driving out lights. Now remember, that can happen in real life. I remember seeing cars can have electrical failures.
He's in the gravel trap.
He's in the gravel trap there, and that looked very odd then. So, losing the rear end down there. So, that's what it's like driving without no light, because he has potentially one light. We will never know. Essa, meanwhile, he's been overtaken by Big Kid Daddy whilst we've been watching shenanigans going on. Now, Big Kid Daddy was always potentially in the end going to get past the Lamborghini front force, front power. It's a little bit quicker than the Porsche, and Essa was lapping about a second lap slower. It was definitely Louis keeping up with him for the time being, as I get a hiccup right there. But nonetheless, though, Jess, starting to kind of a little bit fan out right now for the next what? We've got 40 laps to go. Starting to come into this little bit of a procession right now, Jez, and we could fear this could happen around it. Wet weather. Now, I'm wondering when's the rain going to stop. We expect around about, what, that 30, that 28, 29, I think it should stop raining. I mean, you can see the sky.
It is getting lighter, though. It is getting lighter rain, so it is not as heavy as it was earlier on in the race. So that means they're going to have a bit more grip in them as well. And yeah, I am starting to see a little bit more visibility in the clouds, I think, as well.
Go blue in the sky, and I like blue skies. Blue sky's a nice thing. It's a good song as well, Mr. Blue Sky. It's always good to listen to. Meanwhile, I think, has every bollard been taking that today? I'm wondering, are they all down here? Well, there's one
left. There's one lone bollard.
Lonely bollard.
There's another one.
He's got a friend. No, he's got two. They've survived the bollards down there. I think that's mainly because of Vetro's spin earlier. He might have murdered a few of them. Who is currently getting lapped, I think. And that Tinner's coming to lap him, and Tinner's coming to lap him. Vetro, the only one getting lapped right now. Tinner's flash of the lights there, but I think Vetro knows more than anyone. I think he's probably one of the few drivers that'll get out of the way very quickly and very smoothly. Right now, I'm probably thinking as he decides to take over the sleeping policeman's right now. Has he kept it on the road? He got back on it? I think he has back on it quite easily then, so back on his merry way he goes. Meanwhile, Davey Zout is stuck behind Chicano. The battle between the Bentley and the Ferrari, and Essa right now behind a Big Kid Daddy as well. Lamborghini versus Porsche. Lap 25 of 38 here in the beautiful Ardennes Forest. Remember, always say, remember this has always been a little thing that's pretty much true 9 times out of 10. If it rains, and I think actually, if it stopped raining, Jess, I think, is it?
No, it's still raining a bit. Big Kid Daddy's fun! Into a rouge!
He's caught it. He's got it back up again.
That was
then
lucky.
Got it on the inside curve. I was about to say, has it stopped raining? Because I could see the stars and the constellations starting to form. It has stopped raining. Lap 25 of this race.
Yeah, it has. It stopped raining very quickly.
Yeah, well, very quickly. And just on cue, by the way. Look at the sun starting to rise.
Oh, no,
as well,
it's still raining a bit, but not a lot.
Yeah, not a lot anymore, and the sun's starting to rise, so we're going to get a nice sunrise around here in a minute, which is always nice to see. Meanwhile, Davey's out behind Chicano still, and, well, not a lot of action going on, so we'll go back to our fellow pit lane commentator now, Ethan, and you've got to kind of look into these types of races, and what would you say is harder in terms of visuals? Would you say it's harder racing when the sun's rising or the sun's setting?
Both. It's the same really. The shadows get longer when the sun goes down and goes up. What is a good well, obviously I'm not going to get to experience that now since I'm out of the race. Last time I experienced that was when was that? I think Road America for 2.4 hours of Road America and LP2.
And Le Mans as well?
Yeah, Le Mans, that was a long time ago
That was like 2018?
2018, yeah. I find, personally, the transition between light to dark or dark to light the most challenging, because your breaking point, if you use in certain things as breaking points, you know, like the perception of light and all that can change. So it throws you off a little bit, and that's where you can easily make the mistakes. I mean, I love nighttime driving. It's brilliant, but the sunrises and sunsets, that's my weakness, and that's where it's challenging. And I'm bound to think these guys are going to struggle as well, because there's trees everywhere around Spa, and they formed a lot of shadows on the circuit, making it difficult for drivers to pick their points of reference if they have any directly on the circuit, stuff like that.
And it's definitely stopped raining evil now, so...
Look at Daddy dropping back. I mean, he's kind of weaving. Is he trying to warm those tyres up? Don't hit that wall, mate. My friend, you don't want to hit that. That is the worst wall you want to hit. He got away with that time. He just realised he was going straight towards it. And is he trying to find the wet patches right now? How's it?
It's drying up very quickly, especially through the first sector.
Is it? I don't know. It's hard to see in the commentary box because, of course, we get different views and, well, as we've seen, you can
different
still see
conditions, different damages.
Yes, different everything.
There is still spray in Paul Frere, so there's certain parts of the circuit is dry, certain parts of the circuit is wet. So we don't know what the drivers are going to do now when they go in the pits, but I would say around about lap 30, I think maybe they would go in the pits.
No, it was around about the protection I've recommended as Slicker's come in. You know what? Slicker's coming in, that's for dries. Tinnis, are you going to come in, my friend, for dry tyres? I think he is. No, he's not. Never mind. Jazzman, where's he going? He's going off the road down into Blanchimont. Is he just... Now, who's he got past? Is that Overtaker in the Ferrari with no front end? He's the Ferrari with no front end. Slicker in the pit lane. He's the first driver. Ferraris always seem to be like coming in. Is he going to come in? Well, he's not doing... He's not doing the... he's through Lecombe, just past Lecombe. So no. Fania. He's currently Stavolo into Paul Ferrer, and I didn't know it was called Paul Ferrer.
It looks similar in the dark, so I apologise, guys.
Is it? How long has it been called Paul Ferrer, Jess? I can't remember.
I will have to do a little bit of research on that whilst you look at the cameras.
Oh, well, look at the cameras. You go and look at that. Meanwhile, on the exit of the pit, then comes Slicker right now, and he's currently first man on the dry tyres. I reckon. I think it is. Well, I'd be surprised. Vettel in for dry tyres. So, yeah. No, well, if there's more than one person in the pit, then it can't be for damage. That'd be for dry tyres. Now, in terms of fuel, they will be able to go to the end of this race now from their stops earlier on. Tinnis and Jazzman. Well, Tinnis will have to stop for some more fuel in this race, actually. 19.3, 32.3 for Jazzman. Jazzman can go to the end. Tinnis will have to take a little bit more fuel. So that might be, Jess, you reckon, why he did that undercut earlier on in the race and gained that about 3-4 seconds?
Yeah, that's probably it. And I've just done some research. It was since 2008 where, obviously, unfortunately, he died. Well, there was the driver called Paul Frere who died in 2008. He took part in F1. In 1952, and getting 1 podium finish, 11 championship points, and after he died, the first part of the Stavolo corner has been renamed in its honour to Paul Frere. So around about 12 years now, if give or take.
Okay, well that clears that up then. So I never knew that actually.
Now you do.
Now I do. I will still probably call it Stavolo 1 and 2 because it's ingested in my brain. But Jazzman, through there, well, then you get saying that everyone still calls it no name when it takes corner now. So, I mean, what? Jazzman's the only one with penalties in this race. Only still 2 seconds. And, well, now we're starting to dry out, Jess and Ethan, as well, as you're still here. Do you think penalties might start to pop up a little bit more? It dries up as now the drivers who were used to going wide in some corners now going to find themselves... Hang on a minute, I can't do this anymore because I'm getting a penalty.
Yeah, they'll definitely pop up more. I mean, look how easy it was for me to get a 23-second penalty somehow. I mean, all I did was go wide slightly. I yielded for like 5 seconds and it still gave me the thing. So, I don't know. I think you could see some people, if some people get what I got, you can see people going to the stewards because it ain't fair getting a penalty like that, especially if you've lifted off and doing like 150 kph for like 5 seconds. It's not fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you'll see a few more.
Yeah, I reckon we might see some as well. Vector, meanwhile, down there in 10th position. Has he got his rear wing? That's the... Just, what do you guess? Is the rear wing respawned, do you reckon, before we do it?
I don't know. I can't tell. Yes.
It has returned, so it's back. Vector,
What about
now...
Overtaker? As he, no, actually, no, he's in the pits right now, so we'll wait till Overtaker comes out of the pits before we judge that.
Oh, he's got his lights there. We don't even have to see it. He's got his lights. Everyone's coming to pit then, by the way, apart from your race leader, who's staying out for the time being. And this could be an interesting strategy right now from Tinus, because we know Tinus. I mean, wet to dry is very much a little more lenient than dry to wet, because dry to wet, you know, at the time. Wet to dry, if you've got a pace and you've just got the time, as long as you don't stay out a silly amount of time, like 5-6 seconds. I mean, everyone's in the pit lane now, so pretty much Jet Tinnis will be in this lap. He's gonna have to be very cautious right now. I mean, 43 litres for Jazzman. He's taken on a lot of fuel for what, 10 laps around Spa. So I think.
How long does it last per lap, Evil?
2.8, I think. Ethan, is it about 2.8 litres?
Yeah. In the wet, you're looking about. In the Porsche, I was doing about 3.8. In the dry, obviously Lamborghini's got a bigger engine. He's got a V10 in it, so you're going to be using a lot more fuel. I think you're looking anywhere between 4.2 and maybe 4.6, depending on how they're pushing it. But it's going to be interesting with how this goes on.
Indeed, well, this could be an interesting finale. Tinner's staying out again right now, and does he know something we don't? He's pulled the gap on Jazzman. He's pulled it from 48 to 55, and now that could be. Is he going for what we all used to know in likes of for the likes of Formula 1 back in the olden days, and I think it's used to be quite common in GT racing, probably still is. Low fuel, trying to do some fast laps. Is that what he's doing? Pull that gap up a little bit and then stop for that added fuel. This could be interesting right now. Is he trying the old strategy of just going quick on low fuel? Because look, that gap, Jess, is flying up. Is it still too wet, you reckon? Do you reckon? I mean, Ethan, you saw this in the Hockenheim a few seasons ago, where it dries, but it hasn't dried up. You reckon Tinnis right now is in a good scenario right now?
What you're referring to when it's different conditions for different people, stuff like that. It could be that. I mean, maybe he does know something that we don't, but to be honest, when I was doing my practice, I didn't really notice any differences between service, but looking at the pace, I mean, Jazzman's heavy on fuel. He's not the quickest in the wet when it comes to comparisons between the two drivers. But I think Tinnis is exploiting something here that he knows and we don't know, and he's putting it to the test. And I think he has the gap big enough that he can pit for enough fuel that he needs to get to the end of the race and still come out in front of Jazzman.
Indeed, I reckon so. What, 58 seconds is now starting to come down. Jazzman off again at the top of Radion El Rouge area, and he's struggling right now. We'll actually have a look, actually. S's lap time is actually going to give us an indication of the pace. 2:32 for Essa, and that's a bit of interesting, because Tinnis right now on the wet tyres.
He's lapping faster.
Let's try and see. We'll see who Big Daddy. Now, Big Daddy's going to be the question. He's gone straight on as well. Is it too wet down there? I think it's too wet, you know, down into Blanchimont, the bottom.
It's set to 3, Evil. That's causing trouble. Set to 1 and 2, fine. Set to 3 is where they're losing so much time, and that's why their laps are a bit slower. Whereas Tinnis, he's trying to find a balance earlier on, but set to 3, you can go full power in the dry, and that is where you're going to be gaining the most kph. So, Tinnis, I think, has done the right thing now at the moment.
Gap now starting to come down a little bit. 2:26 that lap time. Jazzman's now got that gap down to 57 seconds. A pit stop for what? 30 litres of fuel, but Jazzman's off, and that is the issue. 2 months curb, and he's a little bit turning. Well, he's going straight on there. I mean, he's just about skating across the grass and not the gravel anymore. There's no gravel down there that used to be back in the old days, but through the grass.
Almost hit the bollard there as well.
Do you know what? I reckon. See, issue is right now. Ethan, do you reckon it's still worth just for Tinnis pit for fuel, stick on those wet tyres, or do you reckon go dry like Jazzman seems to have done, and then you have the risk, or it's kind of awkward right now.
It is. I mean, there's less cars on track. The track's getting hotter. The track is getting hotter. It depends on how quickly it dries out. I mean, Tinnis he has to be on the wet. He hasn't stopped, has he?
No.
Right. So I don't know how he's done this. But
He's only got 8 litres of fuel, and it's 2 litres per
got
lap,
coming
so
4 litres.
4 litres. So
I honestly think. Sorry to cut over you. I think there may just be a difference in the conditions, personally, because I mean, watching Jazzman, it looks like he's driving on an absolute ice rink in some areas, and I mean, in some areas, Tinnis is just gliding through it.
Yeah, Big Kid Daddy. Meanwhile, we talk about Big Kid Daddy, who I was about to say was doing well before he decided to interrupt me.
On
Big Kid
cue,
Daddy,
on
thank you very
cue.
much. On cue, interrupting me. Thank you very much, my friend. Well, I was about to say dropping back, and now he's in the wall. And that was the puddle down into the
002.
infamous, down there, and he's struggling now. Vetro also.
Vetro said that as well from Lodgemont.
He's going to
Careful.
activate. He just about got away with that. Now in practice, I had a monumental shutdown there. That's because I'm a terrible racing driver and can't drive in the wet to save my life on this game on dry tyres. Overtaker's still got no front end. Davy's out. Fair play to Davy's out. Is
7.
now, well, I was expecting him to come in the pit lane now because he hasn't got enough fuel. Now,
Wet tyres or
Wet
dry
tyres?
tyres?
wet tyres. I'm going to say he's going to go for the wet because there's no question about it right now. I mean, everyone going off the road. The wet tyres, it might struggle right at the end when it dries out, but do you want to risk it? Do you want to risk going off the road, throwing it into the wall like, for example, Vicky Danny just gone into the wall a few moments ago, but he's staying out. I reckon right now is Vetro, he's a lap down, yeah, so Vetro's well out of this race now, so he's miles out. So Tinnis, he's going to put about 40 litres in, so yeah, he's got plenty enough fuel. Is he going dry? Is he going wet? Well, we can't tell.
We can't tell at the moment. Well, I can't tell from the broadcaster cam. I'm not sure if you can tell from the directors.
No, I cannot tell from the director's cam either. He won't tell me, of course. Well, he's going to come out miles ahead of Jazzman. That is worked. An absolute treat. The overcut strategy. The gap was, what, 10 seconds? I think it was 10 seconds before he came in. I expected probably now shrunk to around about 9 seconds, but yeah, actually, what, from the source down to there, let's see, it's about 11 seconds, I think. Yeah, 11 seconds on cue. So, there we go. Essa running a third by what could only be described as a country mile right now. Essa's kind of situation where I've seen other Porsche drivers being kind of lonely in third, kind of far up the road. I must say, every person's driving a spectacular race. He's just kept himself out of all kinds of trouble. He's currently fourth. What was the last time we saw a non-Ferrari, well, a non-main car, might we say, a non-kind of...
A non-Merc, a non-Porsche, a
non-Audi,
a non-Lambo.
Kind of niche car. That would have been a long time ago. Acura, maybe. Yeah, the Acura, probably.
Probably way before you started commentating.
Season 13, I think. Was that when there was a thing about Len, wasn't it?
Yeah. Lewis got all the wet races in season 13, which was 3 of them. He got a podium in each one.
Yeah, that's the last time I think we saw a more of a niche car doing this well. I mean, we can't jinx poor old every person right now because he's driving his heart out. Chicano following suit in the Ferrari. Vicky Daddy, who's, by my own admission, I've rather cursed him a little bit for the once in a while. It's the first time I've done practice race. Meanwhile, Slicker, 8th position. He's driving a rather quiet race. Gap now, what, 11 seconds. I'm wondering what tyres Tinnis is on. Is he on the dries? Is he on the wet? I reckon right now.
We'll see with his lap time, I think.
Well,
if he, I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. Because there's some wet patches.
If he's in the 20s, he'll be on the dries. If he's in the 22s, then I think it's questionable. But then again, it's still wet.
We won't know until I think the next lap, potentially.
I mean, this lap will get an indication of his lap
Let's
time.
see then. 22s. Yeah, wet.
Well, 28. So yeah, he's still on his reconnaissance lap then. So this next lap will be good.
Oh,
Let's
28.
see.
I'm sorry. I saw Jazzman name instead of Tinnitus. Sorry.
Jazzman should be saying around about low 21s right now, I reckon, at 22.7 again. So he's at exactly the same lap time, I think, just 2 times in a row to the 1,000. Fair play to him. Must say, by the way, Esther's last lap, as my voice completely turns into Narnia. As you know what, saying that, every person, 22.3, he's going quicker than the race leaders right now. Does that kind of sell you a little bit? The McLaren in the right conditions is quick, or is that kind of telling you the conditions might just be a little bit skew-whiffy still? I don't know.
Well, to be honest,
know.
I don't know, Evil. I think the only people that know how they're handling it really is the drivers, and to be honest, I think with these types of endurance races, if you're the one that keeps out of trouble and handles the conditions well, like every person does, then you could be on scoring more points. And the gap between every person in Chicano, 7 points, and between every person in Darren Sinclair, 8 points. So he can climb up into 6th after this race, I think, in the standings, near Vetro.
Yeah, we should close right up to Vetro, because Vetro's had and by his by his own administration here, a rather a lackluster kind of race. He's kind of like not really his own fault really, but he's just kind of struggled, lack of practice as well. I mean, fair play. I mean, he's got his own commitments here, but a circuit like this where you know it's raining. If it's raining, you're gonna probably put a lot more practice, Ethan, as well. I mean, if it was a wet race, would you put more practice in the dry?
Well, it's all down to commitment, really. I mean, I haven't been able to commit to this race as much as I'd like to. I mean, obviously Vetro, he's got stuff outside of sim racing. Same with me, I've got stuff outside of it as well. I mean, to be fair, he's not doing too bad. I'm sure he'd like to do better, but it's just, there are just some more things, just more important than practice, and it's just, I mean, I think for him it's more just about trying to have fun than it is worrying too much about how it goes down. I mean, if this is the final season and and stuff like that, it's not really going to matter in a couple of days time or a month's time and stuff like that. Of course, we all like to do the best we can do. Sometimes that's not going to happen. Sometimes we are going to get seriously frustrated like I have today. I regret retiring because I think I could have done quite well, but I just wasn't in the mood to finish the race because otherwise I think I would have made more mistakes. But I think Vetro's just got to take it on the chin, because this is going to be the one race where, out of how many races he's done this season and finished quite well, it's just going to be one of those races that's just going to catch him a little bit. And he can just, there's 2 races left, they're both at decent circuits for the Porsche, so it's just got to knuckle down a little bit, try and get the practice where he can. I mean, when you're restricted, there's only so much you can do, and it's the same for other drivers as well. So, yeah, you just got to live with it, haven't you?
Yeah, you do. Meanwhile, gap up front. So they're both on dry tyres. That's definitely dry tyre. 219, 219. Gap's rather forming right now, but looking down, Jess, those 2 seconds of lap quicker than the rest of the field. Right now, Big Daddy. Oh, look at the sun right there. That is impeccable. As I cough sneeze. And meanwhile, Big Danny, let's see his lap time. Now he's got damage, so I expect his pace is going to be absolutely shattered from I presume. I don't know how much damage you would reckon that done earlier. Probably about. Well, I don't think it might have done too much of the suspension, but might have done aero, so that might be where his 2 seconds gone. But 219s, both of them, as the sun now rises in the sky, and this is what I like about this game. This is what this game does beautifully well. It's got some wet patches on the side of the road. You got the sun rising. It just looks incredible, this game. It's one of the few games that really just gets it. You like Gran Turismo, it's a very pretty game, but it doesn't have this kind of immersion, does it? Well then, as I think my mic's died, or I can't hear anyone.
I had my mic muted there. I was talking to myself for like 10 seconds. And that was kind of a bit embarrassing. But yeah, I do like the time progression on this game. It's definitely the feature that Project Cars 2 developers have developed really well. And I like any endurance racer has the form of time progression, really. It just makes it a little bit more exciting as well, a bit more challenging for the drivers, and it just makes it more of a joy to race, really, even though the gaps are starting to increase, I think, a lot more. Not much battling happening at the moment. I think the positions are going to stay as they are. Every person, though, has got a penalty. So, yeah.
Let's see. 2 seconds?
One second.
Yeah, man, 3 seconds. So it's starting to get a few penalties now, and that really, unless Tiernes by his own mistake goes off the road, where he's currently coming down the bottom of the, well, he's at the top of the circuit, now he's going downhill, because remember, then of course that's Malmedy, highest part of the circuit, of course. The lowest part of the circuit, I believe that'll be Stavolo, if I'm not too mistaken. That's the lowest point. It's pretty much a little kind of hill, well, it's very much a hill, kind of winding down. This is what I like about these kind of circuits. They are built into the terrain, not the terrain built into them. So they're not just flat. They kind of have an elevation change, so they'll have the bumps. This is what a proper old school circuit. I mean, you think it's an old school circuit, but to be fair, it's not actually that old of a circuit compared to bikes of other circuits. 1985, when you think of circuits around that time period, you got your Paul Ricards and all that. Of course, I mean, Paul Ricard was built a little bit earlier than that. I think it was in the 70s, 60s, I think it was started getting built, but you kind of just get a visual of what a circuit like this with elevation change, and you miss these kind of circuits, Jess, don't you? You don't get them. When you got Kota, which has got elevation changes on this calendar, and you've got a few other classic circuits. I mean, some you kind of can't have elevation changes, like Silverstone, because it's on an airfield, and airfield's surprisingly actually a little bit of elevation change on that circuit, more than you imagine. But for likes of Spa, it's just a specialty, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I like about Spa. I think that's why a lot of people like Spa, due to the fact that you can have elevation changes, which are quite big, and also the pretty scenery as well. I mean, one more lap, starting lap 35, Tiernes leads by 11 seconds, and then after that is Esther. So the gap is almost a minute, with 3 cars being lapped, I believe. Probably more than that now, I think.
Yeah, just 3 cars, because it's a 2:20 lap time, and Davies out to 1 minute 48 off the race lead right now. So Slicker, Overtaker, and Vetra, the only 3 to get lapped. All 3 of them, to be fair, are on the same area, well, in the same section, just about. No, not only 2 of them are, but Vetra driving down in 10th position. He's shouldering on, which is fair enough for him. He might be down the back. He said this might be a boring race for himself, and he was fearing it could be, but nonetheless, he had some great battles, had some...
At least the bumper's back, Overtaker.
Yeah, Overtaker's bumper's back. Talking about bumpers, Slicker's front bumper is a little bit hanging off. He's
it is. It's interesting, to say the least.
I mean, in real life, that probably gives you that very much give you a black and orange flag. You'd be in the pit lane, the steward's telling you, mend that thing or tear it off. I suppose Ferrari probably wouldn't have been enjoying that. Talking about cars, every person, meanwhile, 4th position, he's lapping a lot quicker, by the way, than Esther right now. He's what? Lapping 121 to 132. He's about 15 seconds of the pace, so he won't catch him in the next 4 laps unless Esther makes some mistakes. But 17 seconds, doing well, the McLaren right now, and I've got to say, his next two races are reasonably, in my previous experience, the McLaren is very good at Sugo and it's very good at Fuji. So if every person, he's got a bit between his teeth, he's been doing well the last couple of races, Jess. I mean, he's got a real shot at getting, maybe potentially, if things go his way, if the wind goes in the right direction and everything just slots into perfect, I reckon we could see that McLaren maybe get on a podium in the season.
It is possible, I think, for every person if he keeps it up. He started off in quite a low position in this championship, and he's starting to climb up a bit more. And like I said earlier, he's getting used to the car, he's getting used to the surroundings, and he's getting used to the drivers he's racing against as well. And I think I can tell every person just really wants to be here, wants to have a bit of fun as well. But, you know, every person, his best result was P6. So he'll definitely be his result by 2 places. So that's good. Same with Esther as well, but by quite a lot.
Yeah, where's Esther in the championship? Was he 7th? I think?
Let me have a look. Esther is P11 in the standings, and his best finish is a P6.
P6, and he's on for a P3.
Oh no, P5. Sorry, that was in Daytona. Sorry.
Daytona 4,000th off of Vettel. I remember that race. So I'm doing a phenomenal job right now. And where's he near in the championship? He's down in 11th, so he's got
Davies out in 10th, Slicker in 12th position.
He's going to jump up probably about 9th, 8th position, I reckon, in the championship. Maybe, depending on... Well, depending on where everyone else
Prenner's
is.
retired. So
Yeah.
he's definitely going to jump Pren. That's for sure.
He'll presumably jump Slicker. He may jump Davies out. Davies out in 7th, doing an okay job as well. Might be saying the Bentley. So a few drivers that will switch around this championship, I believe. Big winner in all of this, to be all things considered, is every person right now who's coming to lap. That is Slicker right now in the beautiful Ferrari.
He moves out of the way. There he goes.
Right out of the way behind them. Chicano, we've started to catch up a little bit. The gap now 3 seconds. Big Kid Daddy, he's kind of a little bit in a no-man situation right now. That damage, but he 28. So I reckon he's spun again. I reckon there somewhere. Presuming that he's gone wide somewhere else. A heap of time as you can see rear end unstable. Lamborghini a little bit unstable sometimes. That's been a common trend this season. It's stable, but then sometimes you'll just see it momentarily wobble them. And as soon as it starts becoming unstable ever so slightly, it just spirals out of control. Sorry, Jazzman and Kota, Jess. I mean, once it started getting loose, when it started making mistakes in other races as well, it's not 8 times out of 10 it'll work wonders. But when it's just in that situation, but like most cars, to be fair, every single car will be like it. When it's just unbalanced slightly, when the tires when something's just a little bit off, it will struggle. By the way, I just got to say this. Jazzman has just about nailed his fuel, by the way, because if he had one more added lap, he would be in a lot of trouble because he's got 10 litres. He's doing 4 a lap.
How about Tinnis? Tinnis has got lows. Oh, he's round about the same, so he's timed that well too.
He's on 18 litres, 10 for him. Wondering anyone else is low on fuel. No, I think they're all...
Nope, everyone's... Oh, we got someone on 22 litres, that's Vetro. Overtaker, here he goes. Oh, he touched it, he's going to spin. Oh, no. That's not how you do it, my friend. That's not how you make a move in Belgium.
Yeah, down the inside of the Fania, put himself on the grass. I mean, Slicker squeezed him, but he had all right to do that. He covered that one. That's Overtaker. He should have backed that one out a little bit earlier on, but put his nose in where the sun didn't shine, and well, the bright yellow's Ferrari, and the bright yellow sun and the dark blue nighttime Ferrari, might we say. We've pretty much got daylight in that two cars, might we say, right now. And Overtaker tried it. Didn't work, and he was very fortunate that the area of the circuit wasn't as wet. Now he's looking a little bit like he wants to try and make a little blunder around the outside, and doesn't. Oh, what earth happened there? And that looked a little bit fishy right there. And Slicker, I'm not quite sure he locked up there or went on. I'm not quite too certain what happened there. And Slicker, for whatever reason, locked up a little bit then, potentially a mistake into the side of Overtaker, and he's getting out of the way of Big Kid Daddy right now, and I'm being a little bit frustrated right now. I think he probably did not like that attempt at an overtake, but not quite sure what that was. I think in general it might be a mistake, so we'll move on from that one. Meanwhile, race leader coming up behind Davies out, and Davies out just getting himself just out of the way then down into the bus stop chicane, and Tinnis starting his final lap right now, around about 9 o'clock in the morning, I think, right now in game time. Behind him, Jazzman following suit in second position. Essa, a beautiful third, and his bonus been a little bit ski-whiff right now. Every person has got that gap down to 5 seconds, Jess. He is flying in this race. But I think it's going to be too little too late, I reckon.
Well, it is a long lap, Evil. Never say never. All it takes is for Essa to lose a few seconds, a lap, and every person could still be in this. But yeah, it could be too late, but anything can happen in the GT3 series as well. And just to let you know, I believe, is this the last race in Europe? Because we go to the Asian part, don't we, next in the final 2 races?
Yeah, last 2 are in the Japanese area, in the Asian continent. Both Sugo and Fuji, both famous circuits. We were not going to have Sakid, of course, because we can't have that 2 seasons in a row. So we've gone back to our alternative of Fuji, which is my choice of a final race, because Fuji's always a beautiful circuit. And hopefully we'll provide a nice finale. And I think, is Esther gone off the road somewhere? Because he's damaged that car.
It looks like it, doesn't it? Oh, yeah, that's his left bump and left bumper gone off there.
He had damage or something, because his pace is dropping. You know what?
Every person could get a podium.
Yeah,
we said earlier on that it could happen next race. It could happen this race.
Well, let's see. McLaren, I mean, he's got that penalty though. That's the question. Penalty is the second penalty. So, depending on what the damage is like right now for the Porsche, yes, how much is he struggling? Let's see. That's the difficult thing.
Oh, don't bin it in our Rouge, Jessica.
Oh, he's going to get a grip up there. That's going to be every person's going to try and fly past right now. Then, so that's going to be interesting. Meanwhile, the race leader is coming through the last 2 corners of this race. Whilst those guys have only got to the comm chicane. Tinner's in the house then. Into the right, into the left. He did a strategy. It worked beautifully. He undercut over pretty much everyone. He stayed out when it was the right time. He pitted when it was the right time. And Tinner wins here in Spa. He wins then and extends his championship lead. Jazzman beat on this day, fair and square. The question is what's going to be behind. That's what we're going to see. Jazzman, cross the line, he'll finish second, but who's going to finish third? It looks like it's going to be every person. And when I said it could happen,
it could be Chicano. Chicano's caught up as well.
Yeah, Chicano's not too far back. He's only over a second and a half. Who's going to score this last podium? There's a battle between 3-4 cars right now. Well, 2-3 cars. Every person needs to get this move on, because if he doesn't, he's going to get overtaken by City. Just a little bit behind. He needs to get through here, because if he doesn't, Chicano's going to get a podium in the Ferrari, and we haven't seen the Chicano on a podium for a long time. Whatever it's going to be, he's going to have to do it down into this corner, because he cannot afford to lose any time, because he gets stuck behind him and he loses the rear. And that's what it was there. He's lost it. He's in the wall and he's off into the wall and out of the race.
Well, not necessarily out of the race.
Not necessarily out of the race, but he's out of contention of the podium. And he's gone and lost it. Essa there just covers his line. And when he didn't need it, when he was the worst point he wanted it, he goes off the road. And can you believe it? When he had a chance for it, he's gone and dropped it on the puddle on the last lap of the race.
Chicano catching.
Chicano off as well. And he spins it. And Essa's going to finish on the podium here. Fair play. Round of applause. Essa on the podium. And just about by luck, right at the end with the damage he got, everyone else made mistakes, went off the road. Big Kid Daddy, meanwhile, he's going to be the next cross the line. Every person, he's going to be dejected after that one. I think I might cry from that. That's going to be heartbreaking.
I think we're all heartbroken after that.
Big Kid Daddy is going to finish in 6th position, and you'll be a little bit disappointed with that one. They'll also finish on the lead lap. Davies out in 7th. Phenomenal for the Danish driver then in that Bentley. Overtaker in 8th. Slicker in 9th. Vetro are the last of the finishers in this race. And we had 4, I believe, retirees.
Yeah, because we had 14 drivers. So, yeah, 4 retirements. That is a bit unfortunate, but we move on to the Japanese races for the final 2 rounds. And Jazzman really needs to perform and beat Tinnis next race, because otherwise his chances of actually winning the championship are going to be a bit slim, but it's still close, so anything's possible, and we shall see what happens. But Tinnis leads he does another last to first challenge, just like he did in Zolder, I think it was. Yeah, Zolder.
Indeed. Well, congratulations all round though for everyone in this race. That was a difficult race, to say the least. A kinetic end, and you know what? I've got to say, I think I'm torn now between 2. Can I give driver of the day to 2 people, Jess? That loud? I think it is.
Well, you're lead commentator, so yes.
I'm going to give driver of the day to Essa and every person, because those 2 drove phenomenally in this race. I mean, both of them within a shout of a podium. I mean, as well as Chicano, those 3 just when the carnage occurs, when they needed him, exactly then, both of them, well, all three of them, all were in a shout at the podium. So those three, definitely the drivers of the day, in my opinion, there. And just a phenomenal job. Now let's go
For interview
and
time.
get some of our drivers. And well, we've got Essa in. We'll get Essa in. And I haven't said this for a while. Essa, you're on the podium. How do you feel?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
That's better. I'm sorry. You were coming out of my phone speakers rather than.
Right, say that again, Evil.
Essa, you're on the podium. This is your first podium, I think. I can't remember the last one. When was the last on the podium? It was a long time ago, I think.
In GT3 size. I don't think it was at all, was it?
I can't remember. It was a long time ago, Essa. But how do you feel? And take us emotions were just when you saw the McLaren spinning your rearview mirror.
Hello?
I think we've lost Essa's connection there.
I think he's speechless, Evil, probably.
He's actually speechless right now. We cannot hear him. As he's trying to get his thing. Essa, can you hear us?
To Essa.
I think we'll
Should we
hold
get
on.
RP2, man, as Jazzman in?
Yeah, we'll drag Jazzman, we'll drag Vector in as well whilst we're waiting then. So let's go to Jazzy Inui then. So second position, Jazzman, you got caught at the end of that race there, and take us through when you're on the dry tires, because it was very treacherous out there.
Yeah, tonight I wasn't thinking clearly, and I went on the wet. The drive was a bit too soon, and I think 2 laps too soon, and I was lucky. I how do you say, got out of there with no damage, and AP2 in the end.
Indeed. I mean, just take us through the start of your race as well. I mean, it was kind of you led the race pretty much from the start, and then Tennis, he did the lower fuel and kind of undercut you on the fuel there. So it's one of those races though. The championship close as ever, and you're coming into the final 2 races. What's your game plan right now?
Yeah, speaking about the tennis champion in the stops, yeah, I decided to put in some fuel and play it safe, play it smart, and use the second stop, potentially re-jump him. And I did a little mistake, and then I just made bad decisions today. I didn't need to go on the dry so early, because I'm still within the window to jump him next stop. I already had all the fuel on board. Speaking about the championship now, I think he has a 9-point lead. Not sure yet, but something like that. And 2 races left. The championship still close, so we'll have to see what happens. I think I have to win the next 2 and pretty much get a clean sweep in all of them, pole, fastest lap, and win, but take the championship from him.
Indeed. Well, moving back to Essa, if after Essa you can hear us,
Yes, I can.
through that last lap,
Hey!
because you, by the skin of your teeth and by the luck of the racing gods there, because you had damage, we believe, didn't you, as well? So take us through that last 2 laps and what your emotions were when you saw that McLaren and that Ferrari spin on those last 2 corners.
Yeah, I think I got a bit lucky, if you can hear me.
I can now.
Yeah. After second to last lap, I had a massive moment on the top of Eau Rouge and smashed into the wall quite heavily. So I don't know, probably about 30% damage on the suspension. So the car was just not happy at all. So I just thought I'm just going to try and take my lines and hope for the best. And I'm not sure. I think it was every person coming up behind me, and I don't know whether he caught the massive puddle on the inside of the corner or what, but it was apologies to him if it caught, me going so slowly caused him to jab a brake or something like that. But yeah, it was intense last couple.
Yeah, I mean, first podium, I think, don't quote me on this, for a few seasons. I do apologise, I've forgotten the podium. But...
It's my first podium in Tier 1 for GT3.
Yes, I thought it might have been. So you got to be happy with that one. I mean,
Oh yeah, over the moon.
You just raced hard. I mean, that stop earlier on as well. I mean, you were the first driver to gamble on those wet tyres, and it really paid off, didn't it? And you had a battle with Big Daddy, and Big Daddy, of course, he struggled a little bit in those bits of the field, especially up our Rouge and Radion. He had a big moment as well. Just take us through that little strategy, and then what prompted you to stop that earlier? Was it just you saw everyone else ahead and you thought there's no point just following, it's time for a gamble, or was that just all a part of the plan all along?
To be honest, it was after the practice race last night. I worked out lap 8 was, last night I went for lap 9 to pit, and halfway around the track it was just like driving on sheet ice, so I thought, right, I'm going to pit the lap earlier, and I decided to stick enough fuel in my first pit, so in the second pit I'd just be coming in for tyres, and that seemed to bridge the gap over Big Daddy in the second stop, which was, I think, was the race for me, was the race done and dusted there until I had a couple of moments up through Eau Rouge.
I mean, Big Daddy was keeping you honest for that race, and we didn't see what happened, but we ended up dropping back. Did you see what happened to it?
Yeah, well, after he got past me, I could easily keep the pace, but I was running for about 5 or 6 laps. I was just running off my pace. He got past me, and I was keeping with him, and then he had a massive moment up again over Eau Rouge, and I managed to get sneak back past him again. It was about a couple of 2.5 seconds or so before we both pitted at the same time, and I'm assuming he stopped for fuel, which meant I got out a nice chunk in front of him, but then I don't know what happened after that. He seemed to drop back quite a bit. I don't know if he had problems.
Yeah, indeed. Well, let's move downwards, by the way, to not Vectro 666, so my brain was just about to say Vectro 42, or I'm just going to call him Vectro. A race of 2 halves Vectro, and one less rear wing than you were racing at the beginning because it fell off on my screen. Just take us through your race and the aforementioned devil puddle, as we like to call that. If he's here. Vectro?
Vectro, you were muted, so that's probably why.
Vetro's muted still.
Vectro?
Well, we'll wait and see if he unmutes his mute button. We'll hold a little bit, but
Vectro.
Well, we'll move to Jazzman again. Back to Jazzman. So Jazzman, was it around about lap 9? You reckon? Was that the point where it was just too wet?
No. Lap 9 at the beginning was the perfect was time. Lap 9 or 10 to come in. It was lap 29 was the right time to come in on this to change to hard tires, and I went 2 laps too early, and I paid dearly for that ambitious move.
Indeed, you got a 3-second time penalty. I'm presuming where was that per one?
That was Eau Rouge, and it was mainly on Eau Rouge. I don't know. I kept cutting it a bit tonight for some odd reason, and it gave me the penner, and I just took the pen because there was nobody near me that was going to cost me a position, so I just decided just to take the penalty.
Indeed. Well, let's move back down, as I can see Vetro's green bar of life, so he's alive.
Yes.
Hello, Vetro.
Oh, I'm there.
You are there now. To take us through your race of spins, puddles, and one rear wing that fell off.
Well, the start was good. My start has been great for the most part of the season, to be honest. I went from 10th to 4th in, I think, first 2 laps, and it was pretty close. But and then I just made a mistake. I don't know exactly which lap. I just fell back to 8th, I think, and then I fell back to another. It's yeah. Then it was just mistake after mistake after mistake. I thought, well, maybe I can catch the guy in front. When I thought that, well, I just make a mistake, and at the end I was just, well, I don't give a damn anymore. And also, yeah, my rear wing did fall off, and the car was actually pretty nice without a rear wing.
Did it? How did it fall off? Were you driving that quick without the rear wing?
Yeah, it wasn't that bad, I must say.
Biblical.
Yeah. So,
the quickest man without a rear ring, Vetri 42. There we
I
go.
guess so. Yeah.
You nearly said 666 again, Evil.
I did. I keep doing it.
The church doesn't like that.
Yes. Wow, I didn't know that, man. I thought that was just a graphic glitch on my end. And just take us through Vetri. What did you see on that one? Because it looked like, I mean, you were starting down near the back as well. I mean, with Ethan as well. And like Ethan said during the stream earlier, it looked like the one side of the grid didn't go and the other did. Just take us through what you looked like you on your end. Was it kind of like people concertinaing up as well?
I didn't really have that. No, I didn't think it did. I had a pretty clean start. There was some shenanigans at the rear of me, and I was with Ethan at the party, and he did mention something not really going that well, and as far as I know, I didn't have any trouble. Well, my line went away pretty quickly, but I went a bit quicker, so I went to the left side of Chicano, I think, or Fran, and just took around the outside, and I gained a few places.
Indeed. Well, Jess, back to you, and you can round it off again.
Thank you very much, Eva. I've got to say well done to our podium sitters for this evening, and well done to everybody else who gave it their all today. And to be honest, it was a great race, but it could have been better. But it happens here at Project Cars 2, and we're looking forward to the final 2 races in Japan. And who's going to claim the title? Either will it be Jazzman or will it be Tina? See you next week, everybody, in Sugo. Have a good evening. I've been Jess. Evil's been Mr. Murray Walker, and we will see you soon. Bye bye.